All right. We have now moved on to section 3 of lesson 6-2 on the two-column geometric proofs. On the previous slide, you would have seen a math tip that stated the theorem stated in example C is called the congruent complements theorem. Here in example C, it asks us to arrange the statements and reasons below in a logical order to complete the proof. Our theorem: if two angles are complementary to the same angle, then the two angles are congruent. Given angle A and angle B are complementary to angle C, and we're to prove that angle A is congruent to angle B. So they start off by giving us statements and reasons that have been written together. And we have the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle C equals the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C. And they called that the transitive property. They said angle A and angle B are each complementary to angle C. That was given. Here they state angle A is congruent to angle B. Definition of congruent segments. This definitely shouldn't be congruent segments. This really should be congruent angles. I'm not sure why that states that. So we need to go ahead and actually make that change, because these are definitely angles and not segment lines. Then it says the measure of angle A is equal to the measure of angle B, subtraction property of equality. Lastly, it says the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle C equals 90 degrees. The measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C equals 90 degrees. Definition of complementary angles. Here at the bottom it says, start the proof with the given information, then decide which statements and reasons follow logically from the first statement. Continue until you have proved that angle A is congruent to angle B. So again, remember I said this earlier. We always want to start with what we're given and work towards what we're being asked to prove. Because once we've proven what we needed, there's no reason to actually continue the proof. You're done with it once you've gotten to that point. So they rearranged it, and the first thing they stated was that angle A and angle B are complementary to C, because that's what we were given to begin with. So they put that in spot number 1. Well, right now I know complementary. Well, what does complementary say? Complementary tells us that two angles add together to give me 90 degrees. So then they've come up with this statement. Measure of angle A plus the measure of angle C equals 90, as well as B plus C equals 90. And that's the definition of complementary angles. Third, they know that two expressions equal 90 degrees. So what they have now done is set those two expressions equal to one another. So they did the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle C equals the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C, and they called that the transitive property. I want you to know you'll sometimes also see this called the substitution property. Most books and or test sometimes interchange these two phrases. So if you see both one or the other and you think that's the step that you've gotten, more than likely you're not going to see a transitive and a substitution as an option. It's going to be one or the other. Okay. Next, we have the measure of angle A equals the measure of angle B, because suddenly we no longer have this C in here, which means we've done the subtraction property of equality. Lastly, if I know that two angle measures are equal to each other, then I know that the two angles themselves are congruent based on the definition of congruent angles. On to your debriefing.